There is a reason the ancients chose not to write plainly. A reason why truths that could have been spoken directly were instead woven into images of serpents, lions, and birds, into patterns carved into stone, etched on papyrus, painted upon the walls of temples. The wisdom they carried was not hidden to mock the seeker, nor to keep knowledge forever out of reach. It was hidden because truth must be approached with reverence. Truth is not grasped with the intellect alone, but unlocked by the soul at the right moment. Symbols were the guardians of these mysteries. They waited silently, across centuries, for the one who was ready to see beyond surface form and into the living essence encoded within. When you look upon the ancient glyph of Egypt, or the spirals carved into Celtic stones, or the intricate mandalas of the East, you are not merely seeing art. You are standing before doorways. Each line, each curve, each proportion is a key, placed intentionally to outlast time itself. And the reason you are beginning to feel drawn to them now, in this hour of history, is because your eyes are changing. Humanity's perception is shifting, and you, if you are hearing these words, are among those awakening. The very fact that these symbols seem to call you, to whisper something you cannot quite name, means you are being summoned into initiation. The ancients understood something we have largely forgotten. Words divide, but symbols unite. Word can be twisted, mistranslated, misunderstood. But a symbol transcends language. It bypasses the intellect and goes directly into the deep reservoir of the unconscious mind, where truth sleeps. When you gaze upon the Eye of Horus, something stays within you even if you have never studied its meaning. When you see the Ouroboros, the serpent devouring its own tail, a part of you simply knows. These images awaken remembrance because they are not foreign. They are fragments of your own soul mirrored back to you in form. It is said that the great sages, Hermes, Thoth, the Magi, the Vedic rishis, did not write for their contemporaries. They wrote for the future, for those who would live in an age of forgetting. They encoded their wisdom into symbols precisely so it would survive collapse, conquest, and decay. Empires rise and fall. Languages die, but symbols endure. A spiral carved into stone 5,000 years ago still speaks today. A star within a circle, a triangle within a square, a sun above a mountain. These do not wither with time. They wait patiently until consciousness ripens enough to recognize them. And that ripening is happening now. Many have walked past the same carvings, the same manuscripts, the same paintings for centuries without seeing. But you, now, sense more. You feel that beneath the surface lies a message addressed to you personally. This is no accident. This is destiny. The ancients knew there would come a time when humanity, having plunged into materialism and forgetfulness, would begin to awaken again. They buried the seed of wisdom in symbols so that, when the soil of time was ready, those seeds would sprout. And the truth is this, the symbols are not finding you by chance. You are seeing them now because your inner sight has opened enough to perceive what was always there. Consider the parable of the three men who approached the temple gate, upon which was carved the image of a lion. The first man saw only a decoration, a simple animal. The second man, a scholar, said, "This represents strength and courage." The third man bowed in silence, for he saw the lion as the eternal guardian of hidden fire, the solar principle, the untamed spirit within himself. 3 men, 1 symbol. Each received according to his level of perception. The symbol itself did not change. What changed was the readiness of the one who beheld it. So it is with you. What you are beginning to see now in symbols is not what others before you saw. It is deeper, because you are ready. Symbols are like mirrors. They do not tell you what to see. They reflect back to you the state of your own consciousness. This is why the ancients chose them as vehicles of wisdom. Because wisdom cannot truly be given, it must be remembered. If it is told plainly, it is borrowed knowledge. If it is discovered through the symbol, it is lived truth. The serpent is perhaps the most universal of these symbols. Feared, revered, worshipped, and vilified, it slithers across cultures and ages. To some, it is temptation. To others, it is healing. The serpent coiled around a staff became the sign of medicine. The serpent rising within the spine became the sign of awakening. Why? Because the serpent embodies life force itself, dangerous, potent, transformative. It can poison, or it can heal. It can crawl on the earth, or it can shed its skin and be reborn. To those with closed eyes, the serpent is a beast. To those awakening, it is a guide. The ancients encoded the serpent because they knew that only those who had begun the path would understand its double meaning. The same is true of the sun. To a child, it is only a bright disk in the sky. To the farmer, it is a source of crops. To the initiate, it is the eternal light of consciousness, the inner fire of the soul. That is why the Egyptians placed the solar disk above the head of their gods. That is why the Aztecs built entire cities aligned to the rising of the sun. That is why the mandalas of the East radiate from a central point. The sun is both star and symbol, both external light and internal illumination. You may see it every day, but only now are you beginning to recognize its deeper core. And here is a secret the ancients kept. Symbols do not simply teach, they transform. To meditate upon a symbol, to hold it in the mind's eye, is to unlock energy dormant within. This is why initiates were instructed to focus on geometric forms, sacred patterns, sigils, and glyphs. Not because they were intellectual puzzles, but because the very act of gazing upon them reorganized the subtle body, awakening hidden faculties. The flower of life, for example, is not merely an elegant design. It is the architecture of creation itself. By attuning to it, you bring your being into resonance with universal harmony. This is why you have felt drawn to certain shapes, certain images, without fully knowing why. Your soul remembers. The geometry, the animal, the sigil, they stir a memory beyond words. They are catalysts of awakening. And in this age, they are returning with force, because the world is once again in need of remembrance. But the question arises, why now? Why are you finally able to see what was hidden for millennia? The answer lies in the cycles of time. Just as the ancients taught that the sun rises and falls, that ages turn like wheels, so too does human consciousness move through epochs of darkness and light. We have lived through a long night, an age of forgetting, where materialism reigned and symbols were dismissed as superstition. But the dawn is breaking. The cycle is turning. Humanity is beginning to remember. And those who feel called to symbols now are the forerunners of this remembering. You are part of a wave of awakening souls who will reawaken the hidden language of the ancients. You were meant to find this. The symbols have been waiting, and the very fact that you can feel their presence now means you are no longer the same as you were. The veil is thinning. The language of the soul is returning to you. And what happens when enough of us learn to read it again? That is where we continue. For when enough souls learn again to read the hidden language of symbols, something extraordinary occurs. The collective field begins to shift. The very fabric of reality responds when human beings reclaim their ability to see beyond appearances. It is not that symbols suddenly reveal themselves. It is that humanity becomes mature enough to hold the weight of their power. This is a truth the ancients trusted us with. Imagine for a moment a temple carved thousands of years ago, standing in silence while empires fell around it. For generations, people passed by without understanding, thinking the etchings on its walls were mere decorations. Yet one day, a seeker walks in and perceives differently. He notices how the spirals are not random, but echo the patterns of galaxies. He sees how the line beside the sun is not ornament, but code for solar strength and inner mastery. Suddenly, what was mute stone becomes a living manuscript. The temple has not changed. The seeker has. And in that moment of recognition, an ancient agreement is fulfilled. The wisdom finds the one who is ready. This is what is happening to you now. Symbols that were once invisible now seem alive, charged, almost whispering. The Eye of Horus stares back at you, not as Mayat, but as a reminder of the eye within yourself that never sleeps. The triangle, once geometry, now becomes a trinity of body, mind, and spirit. The phoenix, once myth, now becomes a certainty that you too can rise from ashes. These images carry energy because countless generations have meditated upon them, infused them with meaning, and entrusted them to the stream of time. By gazing upon them now with awakened eyes, you connect to that living current. And yet, the ancients warned of a paradox. Symbols are doorways, but doorways lead both ways. If misused, a symbol can enslave as easily as it can liberate. This is why secrecy surrounded the mysteries. It was not arrogance but protection. Just as fire can warm or destroy, symbols carry power that depends on the hand that wields them. Those who sought power over others twisted symbols into tools of domination. You have seen this in the empires of old, in banners, in emblems, in signs of conquest. But for the initiate, the symbol is not a weapon outwardly, it is a mirror inwardly. Only when used for self-mastery does its true gift unfold. There is a parable told among the desert mystics. A young man asked the sage why the old writings were filled with drawings of animals and stars instead of plain words. The sage replied, "If I tell you, you will remember with your mind and forget with time. But if the symbol teaches you, you will remember with your soul, and it will never leave you." So, too, the ancients trusted that even if all libraries burned, even if word were twisted by conquerors, the symbols would remain intact, awaiting rediscovery. They bet on the endurance of images over the frailty of language. And they were right. Now you must ask, how can you begin to use this wisdom in your own path? It is not enough to admire the symbols. They must become living within you. The practice begins with attention. When you encounter a symbol that stays something in you, whether it be a spiral, a cross, a lotus, or a serpent, pause. Do not rush to intellectualize it. Instead, gaze upon it as if it were a mirror of your own being. Ask silently, what are you showing me about myself? Then listen, not with your ears, but with your inner sense. The answer may not come as words. It may come as a feeling, a memory, a sudden clarity. Trust it. This is a symbol speaking to you in its own language. Meditation upon symbols was one of the core practices of initiation. The initiate will be given a simple image, perhaps a circle or a star, and told to contemplate it daily. At first, nothing seemed to happen, but over time, visions arose. Insights unfolded. The initiate discovered that the circle was not merely a shape, but the eternal cycle of life and death. The star was not merely light, but the unfolding of spirit through matter. By holding the image in stillness, the symbol unlocked hidden chambers of the soul. You too can begin this practice. Choose one symbol that calls to you. Place it before you in meditation. Let your mind fall silent. Over weeks and months, it will begin to speak, not in language, but in resonance. Remember, symbols do not belong to one culture alone. They are universal currents expressed in many tongues. The serpent winds through Egypt, India, and the Americas. The tree of life grows in Norse, Hebrew, and Sumerian lore. The sun, the moon, the star, these are found in every tradition because they are not inventions but reflections of the eternal. Do not limit yourself by thinking one culture has a monopoly on truth. The ancients were pointing to the same essence, each through the symbols most familiar to their land. You are free to walk among them all, for they converge at the same center. Why? Then, are you able to see these truths now when others cannot? Because readiness is a true key. Many look at the same symbols but see only decoration. Others dissect them with intellect, reducing them to academic footnotes. But you feel them. You sense the hum beneath the lines, the glow behind the shapes. That sensing is a mark of initiation. It cannot be faked, and it cannot be forced. It happens when the soul has ripened enough to remember. If you are here, listening, it is because that ripening has occurred. The emerald tablet itself whispers, as above, so below, as within, so without. You are beginning to live this truth, not as theory, but as experience. The great irony is that symbols were never meant to be secret. They were always in plain sight. The secrecy lay in our blindness. A bird cannot see the sky it flies in, nor a fish the water it swims in. We, immerse in symbols every day, in dreams, in architecture, in nature itself, simply forgot how to read them. But once you awaken, you cannot unsee. Every tree becomes a teaching of rootedness and reaching upward. Every sunrise becomes an initiation into renewal. Every spiral in a seashell becomes a reminder of infinite unfolding. The world itself is revealed as scripture, written not in letters, but in symbols. And this is the ultimate teaching of the ancients. The symbols outside are reflections of the symbols within. The lotus that rises from mud to bloom in light is your own soul, rising from trials into awakening. The serpent coiling upward is your own life force, uncoiling toward spirit. The star above the mountain is your own destiny, guiding you beyond obstacles. Once you realize this, you no longer seek wisdom only in books or temples. You live it. The entire world becomes your mystery school. Do not underestimate how powerful this shift is. To see the world symbolically is to step into the same perception the ancients carried. It is to join a lineage that stretches back through temples and pyramids, through druids and mystics, through shamans and prophets. It is to remember that reality itself is symbolic, that every event, every encounter, every dream is encoded with meaning, waiting to be seen. And as you grow in this vision, life ceases to feel random. It becomes purposeful, destined, a grand tapestry in which you are both student and participant. So the question becomes, what will you do with this gift of sight? To see symbols is to be invited into responsibility. For when you recognize the signs, you are no longer asleep. You are a keeper of wisdom. And though few may understand you, the truth is that countless seekers across time have walked the same path, and you are now among them. Listen carefully. The ancients coded their wisdom not because they wanted it hidden, but because they trusted you would one day awaken to it. That day has come. You are the one they were writing for. You are the one the spiral, the serpent, the star has been waiting to reach. You are the living fulfillment of their vision. And as you continue on this path, you will find more and more that the universe itself is speaking to you, not in words, but in symbols, and you will understand. And now, as we close, remember this truth. You did not find this message by accident. The symbols sought you out. They found you because you are ready. Let them work within you. Let them guide you. And if you feel this resonance, if you feel the stirring of recognition, it is because you are part of this unfolding destiny. The journey does not end here. There are further initiations, deeper unveilings, and hidden gifts prepared for you. If you are meant to continue, let this be your sign. Subscribe to this channel, not as a follower, but as an initiate entering a circle of remembrance. Leave a comment, not as chatter, but as a mark of presence, a signal to the ancient current that you have answered the call. And look to the pinned comment in the description below, for there you will find a further initiation, a hidden gift left for those who are ready to walk beyond this threshold. The symbols have spoken. Now it is time for you to listen, to walk, to live them. For the ancients did not code their wisdom in vain. They coded it for you. And now, you are ready to see.